So before we continue our journey of looking at the good Lord of the Rings related books, I thought we might take a horrific detour to look at this disgrace of a book. Basically what these visual companions are is a rehash of the story, characters, and I guess locations exactly as presented in the movies. And the visuals accompanying the text are nothing more than stills taken directly from the movie. I guess in some ways it's kind of like a storybook version of the movie, but not really, because it's more sort of divided up into different subject matter. But I literally have no idea who would want to read a shittily abridged, static, out of order version of the movie when you could just watch the movie itself. Now, this isn't the only time this sort of book has been done for a movie. Most notably, DK does these type of books. You might have seen the visual guides for things like Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones, lots of the more recent Disney animated movies, where they are visual guides that are essentially just reiterating what you would already know from the movie, but the difference is at least they have the decency to be visually interesting. These Lord of the Rings companions are just stills from the movie. Likewise, the text is just made up of information that you would get from watching the movie, when surely it should have, use the movie as a base, but then go beyond that and explore the background of Middle-earth. Actually give background and information that relates to these characters, places, events that aren't actually in the movie but are instead taken from Tolkien. And in that instance, the book would actually provide a great stepping stone of going from the movie to Tolkien's books themselves. Instead, what we've got is the laziest, most uninspired collection of text and imagery I have ever seen. In an example of how brain dead most people are, there are actually 5-star reviews for this book on Amazon, like a lot, and reading them, it seems to be people, like they release these books before the movies, so I imagine it's people buying them before they've seen the movie and just sort of enjoying them based on their excitement and anticipation of the release of the film, almost like the book is a sort of pre-memorabilia. But even if you are that sort of person, I still just can't imagine anyone being like, no, this was a really good book. Definitely not some lazy cash-in. And so inexplicably they did a visual companion for each of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies, then compiled them into one volume, and then did the same thing with the Hobbit movies. Furthermore, with the Lord of the Rings ones, Eastern Press actually did editions of them, which if you don't know what Eastern Press is, it's kind of like a specialty publisher that does like very expensive, very fancy leather-bound editions of books. So I just can't imagine the poor soul who spent hundreds of dollars on what is essentially a gold leaf-covered turd. I adore The Lord of the Rings. They are my all-time favorite movies, but I cannot for the life of me understand who would find any value or interest in this absolutely worthless book. I feel so sorry for the trees who had to be cut down to make this rubbish, because even Saruman's decimation of the woods was not as much of a travesty as this nonsense.